Welcome, everybody, to Voices of Recovery. Today's guest is Stuart Bostwick, and I'm your host, Gregory Greer. Today's guest, everybody, has a lot of nicknames. I don't know if he knows them all, but one of my favorite is Soul Stuart. Welcome today, everybody, Stuart Bostwick. Stuart, man, how are you?
I'm pretty awesome, man. It's been a really good week for me.
Have you heard the nickname Soul Stuart?
I've not heard that one.
Really?
I've heard creatine stew.
Creatine.
I have heard that one. And beef stew.
Beef stew, that's hilarious.
But I haven't heard the swole stew.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Man, tell me something real quick before we get started. What is your title? What is it that you do?
Right now, I'm a marketer and I do business development for Palmetto Addiction Recovery Center.
Marketer and business development. That's pretty fabulous.
Goes hand in hand. I love it.
And you're a registered addiction counselor?
I am.
Wow.
Right.
So what I'd like to talk about today is how come Voices of Recovery is pulling others from various treatment centers and to pull together the professional community in recovery. And so that we can all connect, work together, and help, I think, the demographic of so many people that are suffering. And It's not a competition. It's about us helping everybody.
No, I definitely agree. I love working with team members from other facilities and other organizations. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do is help people. And we can all pull it together and get it, a good resource together of everybody available. Oh, man, it makes such a big difference. And it's more successful.
It is. Look, I've seen you on, I guess, Facebook or other social media. You're all over the place. Where were you before you came here today?
Monday through Thursday morning, I was in New Orleans and also Abita Springs. Thursday, I was in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and today, Lucedale, Mississippi.
I mean, you're all over the place. How do you like the new gig?
I love it. I love it more than I can possibly begin to describe. I mean, I like people. I really like people. And so getting to, meet with people that are doing the same thing and work with them and talk with them and exchange information, I mean, it does something for me.
So you're at Palmetto Addiction Recovery Center.
I am.
And how long have you held this role at Palmetto?
I've been doing this job for a little over a year. Before that, I was an alumni director and a discharge planner.
So what do they call that? Cross training? And you're doing
Very
everything.
Much so. I've done every job at a treatment center except for medical.
Except for medical.
Yeah. Or you are. I've not done insurance utilization review, but pretty much everything else, I've done.
See, that makes you a very talented man. Well, you've held every role.
Jack of all trades, master of zero.
Well, my friend, look, the fact that you know every aspect of every job helps other people when you can describe it, especially in business development. You're able to share what goes on at the treatment center because you've done it.
Yeah.
And that has a wealth of experience. And you did that there, not another treatment center. You did it there. So you can speak specifically to what the gifts are that Palmetto have.
Very much so.
And then how did you get there? That's the big story. That's the big scoop.
I'm an alumni myself.
Aha.
I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic, and Palmetto was my 9th treatment center that I went to.
Do you know length of stay that you were there?
I was there for 77 days.
77 days.
77 days. And then I went to IOP after that as well because I didn't finish in 77 days.
Okay. Well, I'll speak up for you. I also am an alumni of Palmetto Addiction Recovery 3 times, 2002, 2006, and 2010. And the first time I was there for 157 days. And some of us, a little sicker than others, but this is your what treatment center?
9th.
You were your 9th treatment center. And so you were a patient. You've been through treatment centers. Would love to hear a little bit about your story going into Palmetto itself. So how long are you sober now?
It's about to be 6 years in July.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks,
Congratulations. Man. So 6 years ago.
Almost exactly a month, July 21st. It'll be 6 years. So almost a month from now, we're going to make 6.
Right on. So as a business development, marketing, what would you like to say is the most rewarding about that role?
Honestly, being at the front end, helping people. Honestly, that very front end before they're actually at treatment or anything else, talking with people, talking with the referrals. It's before actual treatment begins, before the intake process happens, and letting them know what to expect and what it's going to be like and how awesome it's going to be.
So when you share that with others, do you tell them you're also alumni?
I do.
And what was your
sometimes
experience?
Not every time, no, but sometimes I do.
And what was your experience?
It was incredible.
Going through there. Well, look, I can talk about mine. Yeah. I mean, look, it's 157 days. I mean, they like no jokes were allowed, no impressions, because I do impressions. I was not allowed to speak. I mean, I went through some interesting transitions, transformations.
That's what I would say. It was. I had thought that I had tried this 9 other times or 8 times before this. I really didn't. You know what I mean? I knew that things were bad and I had a problem, but I definitely, and I wanted to stop, but just not really. I didn't want to have to do any of the hard changes. And for some reason, man, it just worked out where I was in there, the staff that was there and the other men in the community that were there with me. Everything, I mean, the planets just aligned, the stars lined up right.
Right on.
And it's just like, we're doing this. We're doing this. Whatever they say to do, I finally made a decision, I really don't know what to do. And it'll be so much easier if I just say, hey, I'm doing whatever these people tell me for at least the next year. And then if everything goes, to hell in a handbasket, it's not my fault. And so I just, I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it, whatever it is. Don't care if I like it or not. I'm going to do it. And somewhere along the way, while I was in, now don't get me wrong, I was going through a terrible withdrawals. I didn't know what planet I was really even on. I remember I spent like the majority of my time, when I had any free time, I was in a hammock, not laying down, but swinging like a giant swing set, rocking back and forth, because that was pretty much the only relief I felt like I could get. But, people were patient with me. I had people that would, hold me accountable and be like, hey, man, you need to go do this. Thank God for them, or I would have probably gotten kicked out. And something started happening along the way, and I started feeling good.
So I wondered, because this was your 9th treatment center, what might be different, if you can recall, because you said there was some pretty hellacious withdrawals, but it was like, what could you recall that was different this time at the treatment center versus the other programs that you attended? And I'm not trying to bash any other programs, because sometimes
I've been to some great ones.
Sometimes it's simply just me. I wasn't receptive. So 1, what was different with maybe the program, and then 2, what was different about you? What made you receptive?
The program was very different than a lot of the other ones I went to. I mean, most of the other ones, they'd have the same kind of textbook printout worksheet questions that you would do. And of course, we would all have, 12-step meetings and things of that nature. But everything from the staff to the assignments that we actually did, and the way that, the therapists there individualized the assignments. They might be similar assignments, but they're like, I want you to do this on this one. I want you to do, something different. And it was just completely different, and pulled stuff up and out that didn't experience before. And the fact too that I'm a member of AA. I'm just close to my anonymity, and I thought that I had tried it and things before, but they were able to explain to me what the steps really were, what we were doing here, and the spiritual principles that go with each step, which was, so I didn't even know about. I'd heard them talked about it before, but never knew what they were. Never really read a book. My therapist actually had me read in the book, Now, again, I was not that lucid, but it was enough of the stuff that was coming up was like, man, this really is me, And I never had to do that before. I was never really made to do that. And so that was definitely different about the facility. Not to mention, too, so much of the staff themselves are alumni.
Well, I worked at Palmetto for 7 years,
and so
as alumni going in there,
and man, it just you can tell they were a team. You know, you can tell it's a team that's with a common goal, and
Right.
that it's going to make some good results happen. You know, I mean, if you absolutely don't want them to, then they won't. But if you have the least a bit of willingness and just listen, you're going to get something out of it. Plenty of people, I know that when I came in, I honestly, while yes, I was tired, I was going through massive methadone withdrawals, and I was thinking, well, when I get out of here, I definitely don't want to go back to how things were, but I'm probably going to have to get on methadone again or something like that.
Wow.
And, within a couple of weeks, I remember being like, yeah, those days are done. We definitely, we're giving this a shot.
Well, I'm really, man, one, I'm proud of you. I think I recall part of your journey during that transformation. And I think this is important. Not a lot of people know this about you, about your education. That was something that really impressed me. And that's with history.
Oh.
And so I know that, and I'll let you speak about that as to how far you went with that education and what your goals might have been.
I loved it. I loved it. I wanted to actually end up getting my PhD. I wanted to be a professor, and I wanted to get tenure somewhere. I absolutely love history. I love every history from every part of the world. It took 7 years throughout my addiction to finally get a bachelor's in history and education.
Hey, sometimes it takes what it takes.
And then I actually, was making it to grad school. Made it to grad school, and was going for modern European history. That's not my favorite area, but that was at the school I was at, the only master's program they offered for history.
Right.
And so I was like, we'll do that. And then, go somewhere else for a PhD in what I really want. And never made it that far.
But see, what you were researching already was not just that history, but then you also learned about your own history. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think Palmetto did. Yeah. Palmetto really digs into understanding the patterns that, begin in childhood. And that's the underlying issues, not the fact that you use alcohol or whatever substance that we choose.
The real deal.
But that's the underlying issues that contribute to potential relapse because we don't have coping skills based on traumas from our family of origin. Mm-hmm. And so you studying history and then you researching your own history, to me, it just seems like a correlation of using the talents that you were already building before. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because as, business development, marketing, you're sharing your own story at times about what you went through. And then you're able to share that with other individuals that are seeking a place to go to build for themselves. And it's kind of interesting. It's like, what would you want to share with anybody about, because, a lot of people go into treatment and they come out not knowing what they want to do. And many of them go, well, I think I'll just be a counselor. Because it's like, my option reduction here.
You want to know something funny?
Yes.
I actually, probably 5 of the 8 times I was in treatment before, I was like, that's what I need to do. That's what I want to do for a living. That's what I need to do.
What, be a counselor?
Yeah. And then when I was there this time, I was like, yeah, I will never do that.
That's funny how that works, right? I don't want to do it because that's exactly what I need to be doing. Maybe it became a good fit because you invested in all the different roles. I called it cross-training earlier. Mm-hmm. And what that did was help develop where you are today.
True.
And how that fell into place is really by what I consider to be divine intervention, because whether anybody, strategized that or not, that's where it landed. Yeah. So therefore there was a strategy because it all did fall into place. And then that's the role that you have.
I believe so.
So how would you share with somebody else? Because LASAC is a conference that I attend each year and I'm a speaker. Palmetto is typically there.
We will be.
As a representative. I've seen you there most years. And it's like, so those that go through treatment and afterwards, I don't know if they want to become a counselor or even if they want to do business development. What advice, what suggestions, what would you share with them? What would you share with them what they need to do first?
Not think about that.
Man, that's awesome. You rock. I'm glad good. Keep going.
To not think about that at all whatsoever. Just and that's, I'd say, man, just concentrate on actually working the steps. Concentrate on your recovery. Get some little rinky-dink job, just enough to pay the bills and sober living. Because believe it or not, I have learned that the more money you're making, that does not get rid of stress. You just have different stresses. You know, the stress is there. I don't have enough money. You're never going to have enough money. That's just period. You know, you're never going to have enough money. It's not about that. Just have some fun being sober, actual sober fun. Because I'm a firm believer of it. You know, if you can't have fun when you're sober, then what's the point? You know, and when you get out of there, man, get a job, get your routine down, have some fun with some friends, you know, build some new healthy, good friends that are sober with you. And man, the other stuff is going to kind of come along. You know, I've learned whenever I try to plan for things, I mean, it's good to have a plan and good to have goals. I mean, I'm definitely a big fan of goals, but whenever you try to, in the past, whenever I've tried to, I want to be doing this by this day and that day. It's like, it never works out. You know, it's never has. And it just keeps you locked in kind of a cycle of misery, you know, because I'm not meeting up to what I had planned out or where I think I should be right now. And it's like,
you call that what? Expectations?
Yeah.
Expectations.
Personal expectations, family's expectations, all of it. It all goes hand in hand. It's like, man.
You talked about fun. What do you do for fun? Or what did you do for fun? Or did it stay consistent?
We did ridiculous stuff. I mean,
I got to know now. You said ridiculous. I'm what? Hanging upside down out of a tree? What?
Oh, man. We would, let's see. I remember I was in sober living in Rayville, Louisiana, and I remember we would like go to, of course, you know, we would go to that drive-through zoo out in Delhi.
Oh, that really? Okay.
We would go to Poverty Point and go hiking up there. I remember one time we came up with a plan. We wanted to try to make contact with aliens on Poverty Point. We had read this.
Did you?
We didn't do it.
There was no success?
No. Well, half of the people were like, yeah, this will be awesome. The other half were like, no, that's demonic. We're not getting into that. We were like, whatever.
Demonic.
Yeah.
And y'all have like ceremony rituals or something else?
No, we were just going to go up there, and we were going to do this contact thing where I guess I could see how they could see it that way. It's kind of like where you're meditating really hard and then there's a CE5 contact. A guy, Dr. Greer, came up with it actually.
I know who Dr. Greer is.
And we were like, let's try that. You know, we can go up to Poverty Point, one of the highest points in Louisiana, and there's got to be some good energy there because you know it was built however long ago. And but the other half of the guys chickened out. But you know, we just came up with cool things to do like that. Of course, always were very immature pranks and things on each other, which just got to be a habit. We've started making videos with each other. I mean, it got out of control, but in the most possible, best fun way. And what's really crazy is like I said, how everything kind of happened this time, like the planets aligned and just worked out just right. I remember after I was there for about 3 or 4 months, COVID happened. And
nice.
And so everybody was like out of work, and we were at the house all the time. And we just started coming up with like stuff to do. We're like, all right, we're going to go run around Rayville. You know, we're going to run around Rayville.
Like physically get out and
physically
run?
Get out here and run around Rayville. We're like,
Cool.
all right, let's do it. And we would do that and keep going and keep going. We just, whatever we could come up with each day to push each other in some kind of way and have fun with it, we would do. And man, that ended up while we were stuck in the house. It was like 2 months before people started being able to go back to work and stuff. Those were some of the most fun 2 months I've had. You know, like,
well, it sounds like you guys are connecting. You know,
right. That's what it's about. You know, and
well, speaking of connecting, I was just thinking about that because you're talking about the aliens. We're trying to contact, right? I was going to bring this up briefly because if I can, I know. You know, I do the activation breath work.
Oh, yeah.
That's Ocean Eagles.
Big fan.
And you've participated twice. And since you talked about the Indy Mound, I was wondering, you know, your experience with the activation breath work. Yeah. Because that, to me, that's one of my new passions, just to allow people to go within themselves without, because I'm, as a clinical, member of American Group Psychotherapy Association, I'm a big fan of group, but this is something different. And I'm kind of wondering what your experience is.
Man, well, like I said, I've done it twice. I plan on doing it another time, you know, in the future after a while. Man, both times that I did it, You want me to walk through the whole process of what happened to me?
Yeah, sure. Whatever you're comfortable with, really.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. Well, number one, it's a bit of a workout.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're literally, when you're having to concentrate on that breathing, going over and over, I feel like you're definitely burning some calories or something, even though you're not moving. Because, I mean, it's a workout. And whenever I was a little kid, we used to do this thing where we would like pass each other out.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's right. It's a hyperventilation is what that is.
Yeah.
And then you would catch them. Right?
And it's different.
I was going to say, I didn't check the correlation.
It's a lot different. But at first, when I first started doing it and we'd start with the breathing and the music would come on, I'd start feeling kind of tingly like from that. And I was like, hold on, I realized I was using my chest instead of my stomach. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, let's get this right. Then after we got it right, man, it's, I was out of here. I was here and I was in control, but the first time I remember got a just extreme, real good connection, I felt like with just everything. I remember describing it as I felt like a giant battery, and energy was just kind of flowing into me and out. And I mean, through everything that was alive, even things that weren't alive, just objects and matter itself. It was, it's really deep. I don't know if that's going to make sense to a lot of people.
Well, many people aren't familiar with what I call quantum metaphysics from a metaphysical perspective and meditation. So anyone who studies from the University of Metaphysics, a student of metaphysics would be a student of meditation. So within one's meditation, and there's so many different modalities, that consciousness and how and what we connect with during that time brings up much. Now, what that much is for each individual and what they're capable of doing. And when I say capable, because sometimes we have barriers, blockages, and from a clinical perspective in treatment, we call that defense mechanisms, because we're trying to protect ourselves. And so allowing ourselves, and this I think would be an affirmation to you, possibly for being able to allow yourself to have an experience that when I say consciousness, that if I can connect to something and I can correlate it or describe it in any matter, then you're having an experience and there's a value to it. So if I interrupted you, would forget it. I'm just trying to describe how some of us are able to connect with it and use the metaphysical context as well. But meditation, there's a meditative state that occurs with the different variables from it. But I think more about what your experience was is, you described the battery and the energy and what I heard consciousness, or maybe I brought that up because what is that? So if I had an emotional value, maybe if there was an emotional value for you, what would that be?
It was extremely positive.
Extremely positive.
Extremely positive. I mean, I literally felt it was like the best way I can describe it was just like a cycle of energy transferring from me through everything else back through me. Everything was just kind of using each other and needing each other, and everything was the same. The same energy just kind of driving everything. And sometimes more is needed over here, sometimes more is needed over there, but it's all kind of taking and moving it as it's supposed to. This is the best way I could describe it. And I was like, man, this is cool. This is peaceful, Started making me, I didn't even go into this before, but then I didn't talk about this before the first time because I didn't realize it after it happened until like a week or 2 weeks after it happened, and I was reflecting on the experience. And I remember I started thinking about death afterward, not in a bad way. Right. But it's just like, what? It's still going to go somewhere, like me. And I equated it to that somehow. I don't know how that came out of it. Not trying to make this dark, or creepy.
Well, I think the way you're presenting it isn't dark. I think because death is part of life. Yeah, I mean, and your perception of death is what I'm hearing you describe.
Yeah, and it kind of made it where it's not that big of a deal in a way.
Well, I hear you say it's not threatening.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people.
I'm sure it will be when it comes back up. But
nobody's sitting there. I mean, even Ram Dass, the famous. I mean, he's passed on, but the way he described spiritually everything about it's just a transition.
Yeah.
From one state of matter to another. that he's like, well, no, I don't want to die.
Right.
I don't want to die.
I
I'm
don't
just
either.
telling you this is my perception of it.
But it just made me feel like it was, and I don't even know why. Like I said, I didn't even realize it during the experience, but it was like a few weeks afterwards, I started realize. I just started thinking about those two things, and with the energy transfer, and all of that, and it was just like, I think that might be what happens when I die. I don't know. And it was cool. It was a cool experience.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. We were talking about contact and connecting, and I thought, well, that'd be a good little cheesy segue. I could kind of.
I'm into all that stuff, man. I think it's all kind of neat and fun. And I mean, it's like we don't know, It's like, and people have some really cool experiences, and things happen.
If you allow yourself to be open to it,
Exactly.
I believe. Sure. Well, that brings me to my other question. I had the opportunity to work with you with Soul Drama. And I push soul drama on a lot of people, and I'm trying to stop doing that. It's just that's just another one of my passions. I mean, I love group, and this is, if I were to describe it, and since you've attended, you can tell me if this fits or not. I sometimes describe soul drama as doing a fourth and fifth step in action.
That's pretty good. Well,
the reason I say that is in treatment, we will sit in a group and we'll talk. Now, talk therapy is hugely important. We need to verbalize and express ourselves and have the feelings that we experience and then try to process it. And then soul drama has action methods where we actually get up, move around in each other's, I call it bubble. If you have kids in kindergarten, this is my bubble. Get out of my bubble, man. So, but we're in each other's space, our bubble. And so we're communicating. So if anyone's ever done EMDR or anyone's ever done brain spotting, and I don't know if you've ever done either one of those.
EMDR.
So the EMDR. So if you recognize EMDR, and we do the tapping, and we're gonna but in soul drama, it uses psychodrama methods where we're in each other's space, and you're gonna connect with somebody, or somebody's gonna trigger an emotion because of the distance that they are with us, and it tags the same emotional parts of the brain that you couldn't access if you're just sitting in a chair. And so being up, engaging around each other, I believe it affects or accesses part of the brain with the memories similar to what EMDR does. And then we're going to reprocess the narrative. The trauma is what I thought I was told as a child, the messages that I came up with, the I'm not good enough, how I seek approval and how I seek love. And then we're going to reprocess it so that I have a new narrative that is a more healing one. And the EMDR does the same thing. You come up with it, the patient, the client, however you phrase yourself and whatever, treatment modality you're in, but it's, you rephrase it yourself, but those emotional moments come up. Now, I don't know if that, if you would agree to that, or maybe you would see it differently.
No, I mean, I don't see how anybody could not agree with that that's done it before. If I could sum it up, I think I've tried to before. The biggest way I can describe soul drama to me is just it's growth every time. It's me. I learn how to love myself a little better after each time I've done it. Don't need as much from anybody else, and it allows me to love other people, correctly as well, because it allows me to really, start to love myself more and start to really have a relationship with me. And it's crazy. The only way that, that really happens is through the other people in there. So it's such a, what's the word you use? Paradox. In a way. It's sort of like a paradox, because it's like, this is making me grow and it's making me love me more. But it's like the way that happens is it takes other people to make that happen for me. And soul drama really, it does that every time. I mean, I've done it 3 times now, and I'm sure I'm going to do it again.
The way you described that just then reminded me of how you described when you were living with the guys in Sober Living in Rayville.
Yeah,
because wasn't that fun?
It's about other people, man.
Well, it's about other people. I think I'm going to bring up the part about fun, because that's what you said in the beginning. Hey, man, go have some fun.
Yeah.
Learn how to have fun in sobriety. Learn how to have fun in sobriety, connecting with others, right? And I mean, that's what relationships are about, healthy ones. And so I need to emphasize the healthy part, right? But most of us, those in addiction, healthy relationships is a foreign, concept. And so we're on a journey to explore that. And I think you at Palmetto, your journey of learning relationships and how you connected with people while you're, let's say, in treatment, and then as you grew with those in sobriety, as what I'm hearing you say in Rayville, and then when you became staff, when you started working at Palmetto and just slowly started, interestingly, just like I say divine, nobody planned this. Nobody said, hey, you know what, we're going to get Stuart. Not to my knowledge, we'd have to ask somebody, but not to my knowledge. They say, we'll have him do this and this and this and this. And lo and behold, look where it happened. But everything was like a little stepping stone.
It was. And it's crazy. I was actually, while I was in sober living and everything else, I was working at Copeland's in Monroe before it burned down. And I remember going up to Palmetto probably at least twice a week during that whole time. And every day I'd try to go to our administrator, Holly, I'd go see her or Belinda. I'd be like, hey, can I please work here? I'll do anything. And, I had no desire didn't think, anything else to come out of it. I was just like, I want to be a part of this, in some way. I really want to. And it's crazy, but yeah, the relationships, making the connections, what became fun to me, definitely working there just emphasized it even more, just expanded upon it. And it keeps doing with everything I've done there. It's expanded upon it and expanded upon it. And it's, every step of the way, it's felt really good.
Well, I think what you mentioned, you said Holly, that's Holly Rogers, the COO of Palmetto. She demonstrates a role of, I'll call it family, and how she connects, engages, and I'm going to say help develop many that have been there. And she's been there since the 90s. Almost, I wouldn't call it a staple, but that is a form of a solid role of a foundation, having been there for so long, and help develop that further. So, I mean, she demonstrates a very, I don't know, I wouldn't say maternal, but she's very nurturing.
Kind of.
And
I look at her as almost another mother, and we're big sisters, should I say.
Yeah. I just find, I've had a clinical director in here from another program, Susan Colbert, and how she engages her staff, I believe, is very nurturing and so forth. Holly Rogers has done that with Palmetto for decades, and how she connects with the rest of the staff. So, and how you brought up, asking her for help, and then her supporting you, She's
done more for me than just about anybody in my life except for my parents.
Well, that brings up maternal, my man.
Yeah.
That brings up maternal. So your journey at Palmetto, it continues to grow.
It does.
And so you present as a product, my friend. I don't know if that's a correct term. I really feel weird saying product. It was like, an outcome measure. I'm being a clinical nerd. So the outcome, somebody, this is what can happen if you engage in, the recovery program there, and then what happens next. And so you just kept on moving and grooving.
Yeah.
What would be the biggest challenge? What would be the biggest challenge for you in your recovery? And whether it was post-discharge while you're in treatment, maybe it's in the last few years, you said you're, 6 years. What has been your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge, I'd say because I love what I do so much now, and of course, I've had all sorts of little challenges, throughout the way. And I try to keep the mindset most of the time that, all these challenges are good for me and they're making me grow and making me learn something. Sometimes, some days that's very easy. Other days that's very hard, and it doesn't necessarily work out that way. And, and I'll get myself in a funk. But I'd say some of the biggest ones, could be dealing with home life, me being gone so much, me being on the road so much. I want to be a good husband.
Congratulations. How long have you been married now?
It'll be 3 years in October.
Congratulations, my friend.
Yeah, I lucked out. She's not one of us. She's like an actual adult, And she,
What are you saying about you, man? She's an actual adult.
I really am like a kid, man. The other day I was watching this thing on, somebody was showing me this TikTok thing of this guy like calling up his friends and his like wife was videoing him and he was saying, hey man, I just want to let you know I was thinking about you and wanted to tell you good night. And videoing their reactions, they're like, what do you mean good night? Like dudes don't do that. And I was like, hey, Katie, will you film me doing this? I was going to do it to like Joseph and a few other people. And she was like, no, you're 40 years old. We're not doing that,
And she said no. Yeah. Katie, why? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was funny, but yeah, I'm that's what I mean. When she's like an adult, it's a good balance. She helps kind of keep me like, hey, that might not be the best thing to do right now, and I need a lot of that. I really do, because, somebody could be like, hey, you want to go skydiving this weekend and then bungee jumping after that? And then I'll be like, oh, yeah. And she's like, let's maybe one at a time. And so it helps.
Think you want to bungee jump or parachute sometime?
Oh, yeah.
Right on. Sweet. Okay.
I've done it twice since I've never done it before in my life, and I'm scared of heights. I'm absolutely terrified of heights. Always have been. And I remember when I was coming up to a year sober, me and a couple, Jeremy, we were like, let's go skydiving. It's like, well, let's do it. And, I was absolutely terrified and did it, but did it. And, oh, my God, loved it,
Well, dude, I'm down. When you guys do another group, I just want to
I tried to get you to.
I know, but, I was busy. I'm always busy.
Yeah, done it twice since then, and I plan on doing it again. That's another one of those things where it's it's uncomfortable and it didn't get any easier the second time. It was actually worse the second time.
Really?
Yeah, but the anticipation was worse the second time. When the actual event happened and we actually jumped off, it was even better the second time.
Okay.
But definitely plan on doing it again. It's it's good for me. It's one of them things you can't really think. You just have to do.
Yes, indeed. Well, it's an experience.
Exactly.
And so that goes back to having fun and living life. And so many people, let's say an addict or alcoholic, their idea of having fun is getting loaded. Mm-hmm. And so this is us having fun without it.
I'd say that's probably, I really like that living life, because the whole time I was in my addiction, that's all I was doing was fantasizing about living life. Never really do. That'd be cool to do. This be cool to do. That'd be cool to do. And just, getting high or drunk, and never really do anything that great except for some, disaster, of some sort that it usually ends up in handcuffs.
Yeah, that's not good.
No,
that's not fun either.
That's not living life. It's the whole time I was in my addiction, wasn't living. I was surviving and barely surviving, and that's not living. And man, living's hard. Doing things the right way is hard, but it's fun too. It's really fun. You get to have all these experiences, do these things, and I can't describe that. To people, it's like, it's great. It's like we're in the real world. This is real. This is life. We're doing this. It's good. And the problems that I have now in my life, whether it's, having to get a new vehicle or, usually it's a lot of vehicle issues for me right now, but it's like, I remember the other day I was getting like frustrated, because I was like, good Lord, these people messed up my I've just paid to have a new transmission put in, and drive it out. After about 20 miles, it starts messing up again, bring it back, and they're like, well, it's going to be this much money this time. I was like, hold on, I just paid.
Yeah.
And while, that's frustrating, in hindsight, let's go back, 7 years ago. That is a really cool that I have to worry about those kind of problems right now, repairing a transmission or something like that, instead of worrying about, where my next fix is coming from, or am I about to go to prison for the next, 5 years?
Or can I get bonded out?
Right. And, meeting my probation officer, are they going to drug test me today or not? Who knows? I hope they don't, and having like to worry about these kind of like actual real world life adult things, man, that's cool.
It is cool.
It's so cool. It's like, who would have thought? You know, I like it. Let's get more of it. You know, let's get some more problems like that. Bring it on.
Right on. Well, let me say, because I'm looking at my time and I want to make sure we meet the clock, I want to thank you for joining us today. Stuart Bostwick. Yep. You're a testimony. You're a testimony to Palmetto.
Well, thank you. I try to be.
Well, people deserve to hear, what an amazing journey that you've demonstrated. I use the word demonstrate because that's what you're doing. Your actions demonstrate, they speak. So I think in recovery, they don't tell me, show me, don't tell me you're sorry, show me. And so your actions speak for themselves about what you're doing. And I use the word testimony. So I appreciate you so much for being available. Yeah. And Palmetto equally, as they're a sponsor for this episode. Thank you, Palmetto Addiction Recovery Center. If you need help to seek treatment with Palmetto Addiction Recovery Center, this is the man. And would you like to speak quickly on how they can contact someone?
Absolutely. I have no issue. I love to give out my personal number because I always have it with me. And I like anytime somebody gives me a call with something like that. You can ask my wife or anybody I'm with. I get excited because we're about to make something different happen here.
So if somebody needs help, would you like to share your number, how they can contact you? Or?
Absolutely. You can reach me pretty much 24/7 at 318-706-3070. Anytime.
And I still remember Palmetto's number too. 792-2970.
No.
Dang, really? Oh, man, I'm so fired.
318-728-2970.
Thank you.
Very close.
It's been a while.
Very close. And
so thank you again. Thank you so much. Next week, we have Caitlin Cappinger.
I'm a big fan.
She'll be on next week. So we want to thank everybody for hanging with us today. We'll see you next time on Voices of Recovery. Till then, namaste.